What do you think are the biggest mistakes that rich and poor people are making when it comes to their money?
Not realizing that whatever it is, like it's a tool for their life, for their fulfillment, right? They're realizing that, like, if you're very poor, the first step you're trying to do is survive, right? Like, once you have survival covered, the rest is your choices. It's like, what kind of ride do you want to have, right? How do you want to live your life? And so I think a lot of people think that money is a goal, and it's not. It's just one variable out of like the three macro variables: your wealth, your health, and your time, right? To drive fulfillment, right? And so I think people get that formula backwards.
And what would you say are the highest ROI ways to spend your money?
We were just talking about that. Like, some of the in terms of fulfillment, the things that I found are, for me, anything that I'm able to do things and experience new things with friends, right? Like, most of the time, like I joke that if you go to the movie yourself, you're either a critic or a psychopath. That's not true, right? Like, some people like to go to the movies themselves, but like, we are wired to connect, right? We have whites in our eyes. We can tell if somebody's looking at us from a faraway distance. I think a evolutionary biologist told me that, like, we're one of the few animals that can do that, right? All babies dance. You can go into a jungle that nobody's ever met this tribe, start playing a beat, and the baby will start dancing, right? And it's a method to connect with each other, right? And so a lot of the fulfillment for me and a lot of other humans, I'm not saying that every single human, is doing interesting things, learning things, having fun with other humans, right? Because we're wired to connect. And so games, very cheap. You can make them up yourself, or hikes or walking, right? Costs nothing to pay to go into a state park and go see the wonders of the state park with people you love and love hanging out with and share that experience. You can tear up a piece of paper and play werewolves and write the roles down and play a game right there. So
that's a card game for those.
Card game.
It's a board game, and you could just cut up a piece of paper.
The same thing with cards, right? Yeah. You know, like, well, you can't do it with cards because then people will know you got the 6. but cards, board games, things like that. I think those are the highest ROIs. Then when you get into like money, it's like boating trip, buying the bike tour. Like, when you go into a city and you're visiting friends, get the tour with your friends. Make it a goofy tour, wear different hats. Like, those are amazing, right? Those are supersizing your trip. Like, one of the best parts of like a very expensive yacht trip with friends, et cetera, was like going on shore and taking the bike tour with the guides, with the e-bike tour. It was like, this was the best day ever, you know?
So now that you're at the point where there's probably very few things financially that you want that you can't really afford. Like, at that level, what are the things that you spend your money on that really give you the most amount of joy?
I think anything that, like, I think my boat. So the wake surf boat, I have a wake surf boat.
That's awesome.
I got addicted to wake surfing, and that's got to be the highest ROI thing I bought, because you can put 16 people on the boat. Everybody's cheering. You're having the times of your life. It's a memory maker in spades. Like, it's memory dividends upon memory dividends, and new ones coming out, and people, you know, giving them that experience and teaching them how to wake surf, hanging out with my daughter's friends. It's just absurd, the return on that boat, right? People look at it and be like, that's a expensive boat. I was like, do you understand how many core memories I've had, and great times, and other people's had great times, and connecting times that are radioactive, like friends meeting friends and talking on, and them learning how to wake surf and then doing it on their own, etc. It's amazing.
How much was the boat?
My boat, because I think it was like 300,000 or something like that.
Oh,
I have a very fancy boat, right? But it's like, it's
not as bad as I thought.
No, it's a high ROI, and then like, even like in St. Thomas, like, I was like in St. Thomas, I was like, oh, do I want to get a boat? And I was like, let me get a dinghy to see how, like, I got a dinghy. He said, cruise around, and we just call them dinghy days, all around the islands, like go to Yost and the BVI in a dinghy or whatever. And I was like, this is amazing. And then I bought, it's one man's trash is another one's treasure. Like, the boat I have that people are like, oh, you got a really nice boat. It was their tender. So I bought this. I bought this Azimut that was like another guy's tender, right? It's my boat that's like, that's a great boat. You know what I mean? It was his tender, and he's like getting a new one. And I have like the most amazing time. You know, friends go down, I'm like, take my boat out, have a great time. So for me, though, that has been, you know, an amazing, amazing memory maker, amazing fulfilling times. One of the best investments that I can make that like costs money, right? But there are other things like taking a hike with friends that cost no money, that are very fulfilling, that are really amazing times as well.
Would you say money buys happiness? I've seen like, I'd rather be crying in a Ferrari than a Civic. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I actually think it does. But you need to know how to use it. You know, you have these Chuck E. Cheese tokens, right? And you need to know how to go to the desk and exchange them for the comb or the doll at Chuck E. Cheese. And it's kind of like a joke. But what I'm trying to say is that going back to the hammers and saws, right? It's a tool. And so I can give you all the power tools and all the things to build a house. But if you don't know how to use those tools, you will not build a house. And so I can give you a ton of money, right? And if you don't know how to use that tool called money to build a life of happiness, then you won't. You'll just have a bunch of money. And so what you find is when people point out examples of like money ruined this person or money didn't make them happy, is generally they did not know how to use the tool.
When do you feel like it starts tapering off in terms of satisfaction with money? Is there a point of diminishing returns?
I think it's person
like,
specific. Money for all the things you want plus a little bit more, right? So that depends on the things you want. And what happens is with money is that you discover a lifestyle and things that you want that you never knew. Like you don't come out of the womb knowing that you like chocolate and you hate onions and I like France and I don't like Thailand or whatever the mix is, right? You go out in life and you discover the things you like and you want, right? I remember when I never wanted to leave Jersey City. I thought it was the best place in the world and I never want to leave. Why would anybody leave Jersey City, right? Went out, discovered like what a idiot I was. Nobody needs more than $150,000 a year, blah, blah, blah. Make $250,000, have zero left over. You're like, oh, what an idiot I was. I can really use $250,000. That's even being efficient and frugal like you, right? I could still spend it. Then it becomes $1 million, right? And so when you say the average person, it's very easy to pick a number that's like double what they have or triple what they have or 2,000 income. Then you meet somebody that's making $5 million a year, et cetera. And you're like, it's not even close, right? It's not diminishing at the same rate, you know? And I think it's when the person is now having capital that they'll never spend and living that life. Right? You could just point it out. They don't even realize it, right? But you can just point it out. Then we're at enough.
I saw a study on CNBC that actually said that in order for people to feel rich, they need double from what they currently make. And they found that across pretty much every single income group. Whether you make 100, you need 200. If you make 200, you need 400. 500, you need $1 million.
Yeah.
That just kept going. Actually.
Yeah. People are not finding the concept of enough, right? Like they're not in touch with what they want. And part of that, which I think is going on, is they're discovering the world, right? You don't know what it's like to be on a super yacht until you can afford to rent a super yacht. And then you're like, holy shit, I would like to be on a super yacht a lot more. You know, I need to make more money to rent super yachts, right? And so, you know, and it's like, I'm actually much happier on a super yacht than I was not on a super yacht, right? And I'm getting fulfillment out of it, et cetera. I didn't know I like to travel as much as I did. I didn't know I liked Japan as much as I did. I didn't know I liked X, Y, and Z. And so I think, part of that is going on, but also people just aren't having a concept enough, right? Like there is, that is not taught here. It's not part of the culture, the concept of enough.
Yeah. I think Ty Lopez was telling us that 10 million was the point of diminishing returns, where everything beyond that point, you start getting a little less than what you could get going from like 0 to 10.
That wasn't true for me.
I thought it was like what he said was a few million, single digit million.
That was per year income.
Oh, $10 million in terms of
net worth.
Oh, okay.
Or $2 million a year was optimal if you want to do like 99% of things that you could do. That was enough to buy it.
I went to Thailand and I saw people that were visibly, like I felt were extremely happy and more fulfilled than I was at the time that I went, that were at like fractions of income or like close to no. And I've seen scenarios where personally, like I'm happy. I'm very grateful where I'm at. I live in gratitude. I can't believe the life I get to live, but I'm like, oh, I can convert more into more fulfillment and more happiness. And so, you know, I'm not going to cry if I go back to like sleeping on a couch, right? I'll be like, it sucks, but I'm going to have a great life and I'm going to get as much as I can out of this life, no matter where I'm at. with the resources I have. But if I'm giving more resources, I'll know how to use them.
I agree with travel being a massive like opening of the third eye. Like when it's interesting because a lot of the time that we spend now, Graham, with like our friend group and stuff like that, like we're around people that for the most part have like comfortable financial lives. And then when I went to travel in like Southeast Asia and like Manila, Philippines and stuff like that, like I saw a completely different, like way different than the United States too.
Right.
Like low levels of like poverty in the United States is completely different than like low levels in Southeast Asia. And for me to see that, and a lot of the times it seems like they were pretty content with like, for me, that was just like, it was mind blowing.
Yeah.
And it completely like
Same.
reshaped my entire understanding of like, you know, what is needed in America.
Yeah, it's not need. Like when we left the caves, we left living in a world of need. We live in a world of want.
Mm-hmm.
We don't operate on a need basis. We operate on a want basis. And so a lot of the questions for us in the Western world is like, what do you want? What do you want your ride to look like?